welcome to Your Soul Wisdom, hosted by Yana Amor Manocas. In each episode, we invite you on a transformative journey delving into the profound mysteries and wisdom of the soul. Join us as we explore a wide array of spiritual topics and sacred practices that nurture and heal the soul, from reincarnation and soul contracts to the enigmatic experiences of womb alchemy and astral travel. Our discussions are designed to enlighten, inspire, and deepen your understanding of your own soul's journey. With Your Soul Wisdom, nothing is off limits. Hi, ladies. How is everybody today?
Hi.
Trying so hard not do anything bad. Okay.
So we're just going to let that go. Because my intuition tells me that we're keeping that in, which is funny because today we are talking about intuition. Okay, so it's interesting because I was thinking about this and I was like, well, there's intuition and then there's discernment, which are very similar but different, right? And so I was like, okay, well, let's go back to the basics of what intuition is. And intuition is this knowing. There's no proof, there's no evidence, you can't see it anywhere, but it's this knowing that you have. That something feels a certain way, that something may come to fruition, that something is the right answer over something else, right? So it's learning about how to tap into that and how to use it to help guide you. So for me, the thing that comes up is, and we've touched a little bit of this, a little bit on this before, but my intuition, while I've always felt it, really started to kick in beginning of 2023. I mean, it was like blaring right in my face. I couldn't even like not hear it. It was like, you're going to listen to me. You're going to follow these instructions. You're going to make these decisions. This is the road you're going to go down, which was very different from where I thought I was going. And so when I realized that was my intuition and how good it felt, right? That's how that discernment comes in. It feels good. You know, you're able to know if one is the better decision for you, right? And it's like once I was able to kind of piece that together, now like I come from a place where I'm like, oh, most decisions that I make come from my intuition, because sometimes you just want to ignore it. Because sometimes you're like, I want that thing that I shouldn't be having right now, but you're like, your intuition's like, no, girlfriend, just keep walking. And you're like, but I really want it. So I'm not even going to check in. I'm just going to do it for a minute. Right? Anybody else?
Gosh, I've never even been conscious of my intuition helping me make decisions. I always think of intuition for me as a different way. Like it's like information that comes in to me. Lauren and I were having a bit of a chat, tiny chat, because we know not to chat about the subject before the podcast. But it's so difficult
She just
to
told
discern.
everybody.
I know, but it's so difficult to discern for me between, well, not so much, but intuition, sort of downloaded information and inner dialogue. And one thing that I'm sure we can all agree on is that for me, inner dialogue always is a little bit of touch abusive. So that's reasonably easy for me to discern. But the other two aren't. And no, I don't know about intuition for decision making. I was saying that, you know, my intuition is take some Sambucol, or Sambucol is the information I'll get, which is a natural cold remedy in Australia. And if I don't take it, then my inner dialogue at some stage will say, you should have taken the Sambucol, dickhead. Do you know what I mean? That's what it sounds like, that kind of thing. But no, I've never been conscious about it in decision. So that's a revelation for me to even hear you say that.
I think that's really interesting though, because Rachel, like knowing you as I do, I feel as though you are very much guided by intuition. You just don't know it. And I feel like that is, it's true. Like you just don't realize it because it's sort of part and parcel of who you are as part of your energetic makeup. And I very much feel that way. I recognize that in myself, how I really had that running throughout my entire life. It just only became really apparent to me maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago. I'm not sure how many years, but you know, it was there the whole time when I was little, as well. So I think a lot of people might be using it and just actually not know about it. Yeah.
Mistaking it for experience. So this is what comes up for me. I
Mm.
understand what you're talking about in the moment, but the intellectual side of me would argue back that that's just me assessing lots of information and assessing the difference between possibility and probability and coming to
Mm.
assumption based on previous experience. And so I'm interested in what, you know, the more spiritual side of the team,
So I
which is everyone.
sometimes, well, for
Yeah.
me, I
How do you
sometimes,
discern that?
well, I feel that, I remember having a conversation a long time ago with a friend, with my good friend, and we spoke about in the sense that intuition isn't something that's really loud. It's a really soft kind of it's a soft kind of feeling, a soft kind of voice. It's almost like a whisper, and it's almost like you have to catch it, you know, and you just know, because it's all of those things integrated. It's feelings, it's sound, you know what I mean? It's a
Yeah, is it all
thought,
the clear senses? You
it's
know,
all the
that's what I
clear
was going to.
senses into
Mhm.
one. Yeah, perfect, 100%. And that's what it's like. And so, and also intuition is like, you know, it isn't always in the head. Intuition is like what we also say when we say, you know, you follow your gut. So your gut tells you something. Do you know what I mean? And you just know, or you just feel in your gut, this is wrong. Just like how sometimes people say, right, I feel it in my waters. This isn't right. Do you know what I mean? Whatever that means. But it is like that. But I feel that
Well, that's
for
in your
me,
body, right? Your body's mostly water.
yeah,
Maybe that's where it comes from.
yeah, it's in your body. I mean, sometimes I have told clients to almost like they use their body as the sort of what do we call it? As the
Barometer.
barometer. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That can pull you yes or no, or left or right, to wherever it is you're supposed to do. Just feel. But what I'm really trying to get them to do is feel within themselves and feel within their body. So I have been working with my intuition for so long that there's no separation. So that's what it's like for me. There's no separation. It's how I operate in a sense all the time. But then within my work, I'm working with my intuition as well all the time. So I just hear things and I just go with it. The funny thing is that do I hear my voice? I don't know. I mean, people say, well, what if it's just my intuition? What if it's just me talking to me? And I say, and what if it is?
Yeah.
Does
The
your
messages are
intuition let
good.
you
I'm gonna follow
down,
those.
Amanda?
Sorry,
Does your intuition let you down? And if it does, how do you contextualize that?
Does my intuition ever let me down? No, I've
Taking
never.
you in the wrong path.
Yeah, no, I've never ever had. Do you know what? Wow, that's an interesting question.
Good
I've
question.
Yes,
never
it
ever had.
is.
Oh, wow, I got that wrong. How did I get that so badly wrong? No, I haven't had that. Interesting. No, I haven't had that.
No, I feel like that even that if a situation like that were to occur, there would have been something in it, you know,
Right.
to
As in that you
realize.
knew already and you were ignoring the information. And
Well,
then,
that definitely happens. But no, I also mean that, you know, sometimes things are right in the moment and the intuition will tell you to follow it, but it doesn't mean they'll be right forever. So
yeah,
for the
100%.
next best step, yes.
Yeah,
It doesn't
correct.
mean it
Because
won't
I always think
change.
that there's probable
Change.
pathways. And I think what your intuition does, it takes you to a pathway that is lit up the most or the best for you at that moment in time. And that's why I think even with readings that happens. That when you have a reading done, anything could change. You know, if a reader tells you, you know, that, you know, when you leave from my house, say, and you know, you turn left and you're going to meet the man of your dreams, right? If you got frightened, you can come out the house and turn right. Good yard. Just down on the end of the corner.
Speaking of turning left or right, though, I'll tell you a funny little story from when I was about 5, and my family, we were in, I don't know if it was in London or in France, but I was really sick. I had a terrible temperature, and I remember sort of lying on my siblings in the back of the car, and Dad was driving, and he was lost, like which is not really like my dad, but he couldn't find the hotel we were staying at, and I was lying there with this burning temperature, going, "You need to listen to me. Next right." then left, go straight, and I got them back to the hotel. How cool is that? I wish I could do
So
that now.
cool.
I'm
Cute
terrible with
story.
directions now.
Same here.
Maybe I had a little guide on my shoulder. I don't know, but yeah, that's like you know, something that my even my family remember. So it's not just me.
Yeah, you know what? My sister would do that. If she was ever lost somewhere or whatever, she would just watch cars and she'll just go, they know where they're going and they're going where I'm going. So we're following that car. And she
I'm
would
gonna
just follow
try
that car.
that.
I'll tell you what, and it would take her all the way to where she needs to go.
That is amazing.
Don't know if that
You
would
know
work
what,
for me.
You know
what's the difference?
what's
Go on. I was gonna
interesting
say-
is what's what's interesting is when you were Amanda, when you were talking about, you know, when you get a reading and you get certain information, I think also part of what happens with that is certain information comes to you because it's like almost like spirit knows you're gonna turn left when you should go right. And they have to like fancy up the right direction or this option for you to follow it because there's something that needs to come to fruition. Does that make sense? And you're like, but I thought I was going to have this beautiful X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, you know, sometimes spirit just needs you to get to this destination and they
Okay.
have to just give you whatever it is for you to follow it, even though it may not be the final destination.
Yeah.
You just have to get to that cross point.
Yeah.
And so, and that is a tough lesson to learn the first time because you're like, well, that's bullshit, is how it feels. And so I now understanding that, I give myself and the whole situation grace that if ever I follow my intuition, if ever I am being guided in any way and it doesn't turn out in the end for my highest good, I'm like, okay, I was meant to do that. I was meant to have that experience. There was a lesson behind it. Maybe I realize it, maybe I don't, but just move forward from here. I can't go and sit and dwell on why did I do that? Why did I make that decision and go left or go right instead of left?
I think that's a really good point, especially for some people may be disheartened if they do follow their intuition and things don't turn out exactly as they thought they would or they wanted. Nothing is wasted. And I think you just really illustrated that beautifully.
Yeah. Can I just say something? I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if it's age, but I'm tired about learning lessons. I don't want to learn lessons anymore. I'm over it. I'm over it. I want experiences and I want to live life to the fullest and I want to enjoy the things that come along. But I'm tired of learning lessons or I'm tired of crap things happening. And for me, explaining it away with, well, you know, maybe I had to learn that lesson of this and that crap. Nah, I'm sending that, wrapping that back up and I'm returning to sender.
So then let me say this. Do you think that that is then the difference of where you're at right now, as opposed to someone who's like, I just keep getting hit after hit? Is it just perspective? Is it just, okay, you know what, this happened and it's not this mountain that I go, or it's not this spiritual 2x4. It's okay, well, that happened and now I'm just not going to go near that fire. I'm going to move on to the next thing and let it go. And it served its purpose. Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Yeah, I am. I think, you know what it is? I think in the beginning, I think I really understood the terms of, you know, if you're not listening to spirit, it will send a sort of like a pebble and then it will send a brick and then it will send a boulder. And I get that, you know, but I think I don't know, a few years back, I just kind of like said to spirit and said to my team that I'm over learning through duality. I'm over learning about, if I want to learn I'm over gaining anything in my life, even experience through the duality, through experiencing the opposite of it. Yeah. In order to,
it feels like,
because I always used to think, you know, I don't have to learn the opposite in order to appreciate the good of what I'm looking to come into my life. No. And that for me is the old paradigm of how humans were or are, or maybe some humans are still like that. But I know for me, I'm choosing, and I'm choosing not to keep learning through dualities, or not. I'm choosing experiences. I'm choosing moments. I'm choosing wonderful things that enrich my life. I'm tired of being I'm tired of constantly swallowing the seawater and thinking, yeah, life's good.
You are just the best role model for us.
I know, I love
honestly,
her.
Amanda. You are
When
amazing.
Amanda
You know?
was first speaking, to me, it sounded like obviously Amanda had some of those experiences, but at a certain point, she made a decision. And I think that's really important. The power of making one decision is so huge and can change the trajectory for everything.
100%.
So thank you. I'm going to
Yes.
do that too.
That's
Yeah.
amazing boundaries.
Let's all say it
amazing
together.
boundaries. Yeah.
Ready?
We
What
no
are you saying?
longer want to learn from duality.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
no longer want to
learn
have to
from
go through
duality.
lessons. We just
We
want
no
to
longer wanna go through
experience.
lessons.
Yeah.
We just want to
That's it.
experience. I'm doing it. I'm
I
doing
love
it.
it,
I said it.
I don't know. I don't know what that would
Hey.
look like. I mean, like I did. Do you remember when I no, not well, when I spoke before about the fact that I had a really bad stutter, you know, and up until the age of about 19, I had a really bad stammer, and got to it one day where I just decided, yeah, it's not good, it's not pretty, it's not nice, and I don't want it anymore. I could barely speak, I could barely breathe. I couldn't speak on phones because I was too embarrassed I couldn't see what the other person was thinking with my stammer. And it was a real struggle, it was a real challenge in life. And about age of 19, I think I got to 19 and I just said, I'm over this. I'm done. And I don't care how karmic it was supposed to be, or, you know, what I was supposed to learn from it, what I was supposed to gain from it, or what I was supposed to bring with it. I'm over it. And I took back my power, and I took back my voice. So you would never know that I had, for the most part, a stammer.
Never
And I
know.
don't just mean a mild stammer. I had a very strong stammer, which had me for years doing speech therapy in order to try and speak properly. I couldn't read out loud in a class because I couldn't get through a page. It would take me an hour to get through a page. So I was never really called to read, and I hated when I was called to read, and I love reading. So, you know, I just decided.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Your strength is amazing, Amanda.
Yeah, so powerful.
Thank you. I think sometimes it is about taking back your power and standing in power and making those decisions about certain things that are really important to you. So for me, like we go back to, you know, intuition, it hasn't really ever guided me to be wrong, because I think it's just an integral part of me. So it's just, yeah. I said it to point true north, and that's where we're heading.
You know what I want to
Take us with
know
you.
from you guys is, you know, is intuition and flow the same thing, or is flow an indication that you're following your intuition? You know, that kind. You know, for me, going with the flow is literally not offering resistance, whereas intuition is more taking action. So I don't know where you guys sit within that. I'm interested in what Kylie has to say, actually, because she's been very quiet about her intuition. And I'm wondering if she's all intuition
got a
like
lot going through my
Amanda,
head.
or
So, Amanda, I think you're just at that keep left, not the white light. You're just like, I don't want any more of this bullshit. I'm going left. I'm not doing your lessons anymore. You embody it. You're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk, which is amazing.
Thank you.
So I think, so Rachel, you're talking about flow. So, you know, I think that if you follow your intuition and the flow is easy and you embrace the flow with the least amount of resistance, is you're on the right path with your intuition, right?
Yeah.
okay.
That's just my 2 cents on it.
You know, Kylie, I'm dying to ask you, like, does your life get out of flow? And what does that look like for someone like you?
Oh, of course. So as you know, people, I think believe that a medium or an intuitive or whatnot has all the answers. We certainly don't. And
Yeah.
especially when it comes to myself, I get very little, very, very little intuition. It's a feeling, sure, but I get very little messages. Unless it's like impacting my path, that's when I'll kind of know. So there's a brief story that I have where back just before COVID and the world lockdown, I was driving on the freeway, and I wanted to stop home. And my intuition was loud and clear. No, you're going to go and get something from the store up the street, right? So I kept going on the freeway, missed my exit, kept going, car accident, right? But what you don't know is that I had asked for a new car about 2 months prior to this moment happening, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, we were all okay in the car. It was okay. Everyone was okay at the end, but it totaled my car. And not only did I get a new car, but there was also a settlement involved with it, which padded all the kids' college funds, right?
Oh
So
my
it was
goodness.
such a blessing in disguise. However, very sad that whoever got hurt, but it wasn't serious, wasn't fatal. Everyone was able to walk away at the end. But if I didn't follow that line of intuition, and at that time of impact, I didn't think, oh my God, how could this happen to me? What did I do wrong with the world? Because it's kind of that worldly victim mentality, right? And that stops the flow. But when it did happen, my instant reaction was the freeway shut down. We got out, we tended to everyone, the police showed up. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm so thankful that I was able to get the help, that everyone was, able to whatever, right? And then I was a mess after for about half an hour. And then I put my big girl pants on. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
This is what I asked for. And I didn't specify for, no accident. Please just deliver me a new car, universe. But it worked out where I got what I asked for. But if I didn't follow that line of intuition, I would have had to maybe wait longer on getting a new car. But it was that weird sense of intuition. And that was not, anyway, so it wasn't like I was asking for that, but it just happened. But I also want to briefly touch on, I've had a lot of people come up to me saying, I'm empathetic. Like I have empathy. Can I tap into my intuition because I have the empathy, right? Not the empathy like a disease, but you have right? But the empathy, right?
Big
Because
rash.
we can all say we've met. Sometimes it can be a rash, let's be honest. When you meet people, sometimes you just get the ick factor, right? And it's not intuition per se, because you don't know why you're getting the ick factor yet, right? But you're picking up on the energy following that. So I want to kind of bring that up with everyone about how they internally, distinguish between the empathy, the energy reading versus the intuition.
Well,
Yes.
I'd like to know what everyone thinks about that too, because when I was reflecting on this topic, I was like, well, what is intuition? And, Yana covered that already, but it's like, well, how do we have that? And it's through the clear senses, right? And clairsentience is clear feeling. And that is probably my earliest and most strongest sense. So yeah, I'm interested to see, because to me, it kind of all blends. My ability to feel informs my intuition. And then other parts of that for me would be clairvoyance, clairaudience, even clairalience, like the ability to smell. So to me, it's sort of all together. So I'd like to know what everyone else thinks, to be honest.
It's interesting because, so the example you gave, Kylie, I think when I walk into a room, so I'm an empath. I feel people's energy. I absorb people's energy. It's this whole thing. So when I walk into a room, I can feel the energy. I know where that negativity is coming from. I know who to steer clear from. The intuition comes in that it's like that follow through, like, oh, I know I'm not going to build a relationship with this person. I'll engage in this conversation or at this event or whatever, but it's not going to go anywhere past this. Or the intuition immediately goes to, I am so drawn to this person that I need to like every single one of you here. I need to build and flourish some kind of relationship because I know there is something here that's much more than just this moment. Right.
Yeah.
So for me, that's how that they play out differently. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Well, I tell you
It's
what,
like
it
taking
does
the
now.
information and deciphering it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And going back to your car,
Mm.
Kylie.
Hmm?
Going back to your car, in February, I got a new car. My old lease was up in my car that I absolutely loved. And car buying is like the thing that I loathe the most. So Olivia's dad helped me out with that. And I got a car that I didn't even test drive. I'm like, okay, it's fine. I was out of time. Just give me the car. It was a lease. It's not like a forever. From the moment I've had this car, all I keep saying, I mean, you guys have heard my car issues, right? All I keep
Yeah.
saying is like, I hate this car. And there's no reason
Oh
to hate it. It's a
no.
beautiful
Maybe you need to tell
car.
it you love it.
Hold on a second. Hold on. So I've become so aware of the fact that I keep saying that. And I'm like, oh, no. I love this car. It gets me and my daughter everywhere we need to go. Like it's safe and all this stuff. And we were, Olivia's dad and my girlfriend were having a conversation that day that he drove me home where I lost my purse and my keys and all that.
Yeah.
And we're in the car, in his car, and we're talking about my car. And one of them goes, well, maybe you're just meant to get a new car. And that's why these things keep happening. So what we said was, we're like, I will take a car that I absolutely love, but I don't want any accidents. I don't want anybody hurt because we know we're creating with
Creating, yeah.
everything we think and everything we say. So I was like, let me get a little bit more specific. I don't want this to be horrific. I don't want this to be something tragic that happens to get this new thing.
Mm.
But I'm so conscious of every time I think about my car and how much I loathe it, that I also love it very, very much because it provides for me. That's it. That's what it is.
But
You
also,
have to
I
be
think
so clear.
it's true. It's good to be clear, but also everything is a co-creation. So
Yeah.
it's not just about our reality too, like it's about others as well, isn't it? So anyway, I won't go further into that.
It's just so crazy.
Mm. Have you named your
But
car?
yes,
No, I hate my car. I love my car. I love my car.
Oh.
I will not name my car.
But you should name your
I name my
car.
cars and my computers. I name both of those things and
And
my
your
plants.
computers. Wow.
I don't know that I've ever
Yeah.
named anything.
I've never
that
named
wasn't.
anything either.
I did name a
pet.
plant
yeah.
one time, but that's it.
Oh.
Yeah, I named my plants.
Yeah, I did
named
too.
I do.
Hey, I want to get back to, you guys have reflected something fantastic to me about how close discernment and intuition is. Because you know how, Lauren, you were saying, oh, you think I'm more intuitive than what I think I am. I tell you what I do think I have is excellent taste in people. And it hasn't occurred to me until Jana was speaking that could actually be that intuition, that kind of thing. So I do find that an interesting thing about direction. And, you know, again, where do you contextualize? And I know, Amanda, you're not going to be so much into this conversation, but where do you contextualize intuition when it tells you to do something hard or dangerous or something like that? Or do you think that's not possible?
I mean, will your intuition ever tell you to do
Well,
something dangerous? Are you saying
well, you know,
something
honestly,
that you
well, look, let's just imagine that you're at the beach and you see a child falling in the water and at a jetty, and it's not your child, but someone close to you. Is it your intuition that causes you to jump in to try and save the child?
instinct? Or is it
Yeah.
instinct?
Or
I think that's
instinct, do you know what
more
I mean? Like,
instinct.
again, how do you, okay. So
I feel like there are definitely things that your intuition will whisper to you that to do that might be hard. Absolutely. Because they're often the things that we resist. And I am very guilty of that. But what you will often find when you talk to people is like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Like I knew, like they knew, right?
I knew, yeah.
And I'll
you'll say
give you
that.
I'll give you a really tangible everyday example. It was during COVID, but the coffee shop down the road was open and I was homeschooling my children. So I was like, I need a coffee. All right. So this little thought pops into my head. Take cash. Take that $20 note that you have. It's like, that's stupid. No one wants to touch money. I'll just pay with my phone or my card or whatever. And I got down there and their FPOS machine was broken. And I went, oh,
Yeah.
should have listened. That's like a really simple example.
Yeah.
But that example was so obvious to me. It was just so obvious that I went, never doing that again. I really, whatever it may be, need to take it on board. But a lot of people just dismiss those things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just a tangible, everyday example for someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a really weird. So I know that Lauren's done my soul contract numbers, and apparently there's a number set in there that really correlates with my life. I have seemed to put myself in really dangerous situations.
Oh, it's year 11 too.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I've probably can count 5 or more near-death experiences, seriously, like where I don't even know I'm a cat. That's the only conclusion I have. So
I love cats.
yeah, so there you go. Meow. So I remember one particular one, and I was in Greece, and I was swimming out. Laura knows the story. I was swimming out, and I don't know why. Yeah. I just decided I'm going to swim out to Sandbar, and I swam out there 2 hours ago. I'm totally going to do it again. I go out there, the tide had come in, and I'm like, I'm going to die here. Like, I had that thought, and I don't know why I wanted to go out there. I have no idea. I went out there, and I was like, I remember distinctly, like, this is it. I've pushed it too much. No, like, I'm done. And there was something in my head that's like, you needed to experience this, and now you got to get back, and you're going to get back. I don't know how I got back. I got back. My husband looked at me and said, from the shoreline, you look like you're in trouble. And I'm like, and where the fuck were you, asshole? Like, we just watched me come in. And he's like, well, what do you want me to do? And I'm like,
save me.
Whatever. Must have life insurance on me. And then went back and I sat down, and that was my Greece trip. I'm like, I'm not going swimming out there again.
But she makes it sound funny, but it was actually, I remember that you were really,
I was like,
really shaken.
I literally was like, I'm going to die. Like, that thought did pop into my head, but I'm like, I wouldn't normally have done something like that. So at what point was that, like, I had to go out there and experience that? See, I need to take Amanda's approach. Stop doing this to me. You know, like, why am I being directed to do these really stupid things, right? But I had to go through that process.
For what? Why?
What did you get out of it?
It was almost like there was a subhuman strength activated at that point. Like, I don't know how else to describe, but it was almost like, I refuse. This is not my time. I refuse. I could have easily. And I'm like, this is not my time. And I don't remember really getting back to shore, but I got back to shore. Right. So it's like, that was something I normally wouldn't have done. And I followed my, like, hey, I want to do that. And I was like, sure, let's go do it. And I did it. And so that's my thing.
So what's interesting with what you're saying is you're like, well, I followed I think the word you wanted to use was my intuition to go
my
do
intuition.
This
I
thing.
don't know if I want to label it intuition, but
well,
I had
here's
that
the
feeling
thing
to go.
So in soul contracts, the intuition frequency is that 5 energy. Okay. But the 11-2 that we're talking about right now brings this whole life, death to life element. It brings this like near death experiences, but it brings this foolish decisions.
Okay, that was
I'm just gonna
wisdom.
Yes,
it's these foolish decisions I'm gonna make until I step into that wisdom and I go, you know what? It's probably not the smartest thing for me to swim out 2 hours on my own.
I do feel though, Kylie, because I can't remember what else was going on around that time. And of course, I'm not going to tell everyone what we talk about all the time. But I feel like there was a real theme at that time for you that it kind of tied in, and I can't pinpoint it now. But it feels like I feel like you had multiple things going on in your life that were kind of around that sort of valuing life, the 11, through like loss or death energy. But I also feel like it showed you just how powerful you are. And
your endurance.
In the water, you made a decision no, it's not my time,
Right.
I'm getting back there. So I just like, it's really interesting with what you've said and what Amanda said, the power of making that decision is
That's
incredible.
interesting. Yeah.
Mm.
And it's amazing because we forget we have the power,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of people
And
get sucked into
yeah.
that victim mentality,
Yep.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
very
what were
much
you gonna say,
so.
Lauren? Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. That's okay. Sorry.
It'll come
I
back.
got
No,
excited.
no, no.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. I love
I'm
that. I love
validating.
that.
I'm validating
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that a lot of us want to blame sometimes our intuition from misguiding us, but in the end, we
Yeah.
have our choice. We have choices.
Mm.
We have
So,
choices. We have
Yeah.
choices.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously we look at, say, intuition and all, and psychic being, picking up that stuff together. So, and I think it's all one. I think it's just a different name for the same
Mm.
thing. It's like one thing could
Mm.
have different names. And so I think that, I've got loads of guidance sometimes whereby it's not for me to do anything. It's just letting me know so that when it does happen, I can say, I get it, I know, I understand. There's been many situations whereby I have seen or felt the end of something, and I've got that feeling. It's just been a feeling that this is going to be the last one, or this isn't going to last long, or this
Yeah.
isn't. And I've had to go through that. And then at the end of that, it's like, yeah, I get it, I understand. It's just how I am. I'm just in that moment, because we're able to feel things through the fields. And it's not, we only experience or feel things when it hits the physical. When it hits the physical body, that's the last point.
Mm.
And being intuitive and having that intuition and being, in a sense, having that psychic ability or that empathy means that you're feeling things in the fields before it actually hits the physical. You're getting that information through the different
It's
fields.
interesting. I was just about to say, because before I was like, well, there are the senses and then there's intuition and what's what. And I feel like what Amanda was saying just sort of brought that up for me a bit more. I'm very aware now of my senses, what I am hearing, what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling. Whereas someone perhaps who doesn't quite do this work and hasn't developed those senses and is not aware of them as much, because we all have them, you may have these intuitions that these things are informing, but they're not aware of them in a way, almost. There was one day I was standing outside my kids' school, and it was like 10 minutes before the bell, and this sentence popped into my head that wasn't mine. So that was my sort of subjective clairaudience.
Yeah.
And it told me that my child was crying. Okay. And I couldn't have heard them. They were at the other side of the school. I was standing out front. And sure enough, when they walked out of school, they were bawling their eyes out.
Oh.
But I was because, I've done a lot of work and I've developed my senses and I'm very aware of them and I pay attention to them. It was very noticeable to me when that, came into my head. But perhaps if it were not that way and it would have been me a while ago, maybe I just would have had a sense that something was wrong without having that information. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The feels.
Yeah.
The fields.
Like the kind of same thing like you, like years ago, my daughter was at school and she was having trouble with this one girl at school. And the morning of her going to school, the next morning of her going to school, she came into my bedroom I forget what she came in for anyway. And I wanted to speak to her. I had this feeling that I really need to speak to her quite seriously, because I had this feeling. She walked in, she came in with this energy. And I was going to say to her, well, no matter what happens today, do not engage. Do not engage, because this person is trying to pull you down to their level. Do not engage. And my husband was messing around with her and laughing and joking and diddle-a-do and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, no, I'm trying to have a serious conversation with her. And he was still messing around until I got to the point where I just said, right, I ain't got nothing to say. I've got nothing to say. So she's like, but Mum, I said, no, I've got nothing to say. I said, because you're not listening and I'm deadly serious, but don't worry about it. I said, you head off to school, it's fine. Well, she headed off to school. About 4 hours later, I had a phone call. As soon as I saw the school come up on my phone, I just said, yeah, what's happened? And she'd got in, then she goes, oh, hi, Miss Nini, and I said, yeah. So she said, your daughter's got into a fight at school, I wasn't even shocked. I wasn't even surprised. I knew exactly who the fight was with, and I knew exactly what had happened. And the fact that my daughter had got into this fight, defending another friend, she got drawn in, and I knew it. I felt it, because I felt an energy when she walked into the room. It wasn't her, but I felt that, you know, people don't realize how much their thoughts can create actual projections, you know? And this girl who was obviously fixated had created this kind of like energy around her. And so she got into a fight at school. First ever fight. Do you know what I mean? At school. I knew it's going to happen. I said to my husband, it's your fault, because if you'd let me speak to her, when I'll speak to her, it never would have happened.
But here's my other
I
question,
love how
right?
we're all blaming our husbands here.
Yeah, like totally, they deserve it.
Yeah.
So here's my other question though. At what point do we have responsibility for verbalizing our intuition onto someone else? You know what
Yes.
I mean? Like, where is that
I
boundary?
wanted to ask something
Yeah.
like that, and I couldn't work
picked
it
it
out.
up, Rachel. See, I picked it up.
I know, but I think it is
it's
it's hard when it's your
Intuition.
kids, right? Yeah.
well, kids are different. This is the thing. Like, I can
Yeah.
understand the mama bears
Yeah.
feeling out their kids, and honestly, I think that's appropriate. But you know, when I think about my intuition, I really only think about it about me with me and me. But you guys would have intuition or downloads or whatever with other people. So where do you call it? Because, you know, a lot of people are, anyway, I don't know. You tell me how you discern what to tell people and what not to tell people.
For me, when people come to work with me, in my initial call, I will always talk about my intuitive ability. So when you work with me, that's always going to come into play if needs be. So you're aware of it before it actually comes into play. So you working with me, so you agree to work with me, then that's what's going to be there. It may not always make an appearance, but most of my work is done intuitively, because I can see and I can hear things and stuff like that. So, you know,
More
if
like,
you
Amanda,
sign up with me,
like-
you're always going to sign up for that.
yeah, we all love that. But let's say with your adult children now,
Right,
and like, of course,
outside
when
of
children
work.
are little, yeah,
Yeah.
and when children are little, they need protection, and that's what you guys are there for, sort of thing. But adult children, if you were to get information about something coming up with your adult children, do you interpret it as something that you have been told so that you can support them better kind of when it happens, or that you've been told to actually tap them on the shoulder and warn them to avoid something?
Yeah, I have.
And so you do, you try to protect them initially.
Yeah, and so I do. And that will happen. That happens all the times, and in all the ways. I'm never going to say anything that's going to be in a sense of form of control. I do know that I've only spoken to, well, once I spoke to one of my sons about the girlfriend that he had, and I try not to come from an intuitive point or anything, but I don't delve into their relationships psychically or anything like that. They don't need that. What they need is, most of the time, is 3D information on how to deal with their feelings or stuff like that. But this particular girl, her energy was just, every time she was around me, she was always like a deer stuck in a headlight. And so for me, that said, there was something that she was frightened of. And I didn't think it of, oh, she's frightened of me. I thought there's something not quite right here. And I think if you were true with my son, then you would be settled, because our family's quite a loud, quite, you know, all encompassing, you know, fun kind of family. But her energy was always, like, you know, so I just thought to myself, and I said to him one day, once again, my husband was messing around, and I said to him,
oh, he sounds terrible, messing around with the kids and having fun. Oh.
And I was speaking to my son, and I said to him, I'm not liking her energy, and I'm not liking some of the things that you're saying. I said, and mark my words, I said, this is not going to come out right. She had this kind of energy whereby she was going, it felt like she was, look, she just had this energy that I was not keen on, and I felt like it could be very dangerous to him. And I said, and he was like, and my husband was laughing and joking, oh, don't be silly, babe, and I got mad, and I just said, mark my words, I said, this day, October the the whatever, I said, I'm telling you now, this is not going to go well. I said, so I don't know how long this is going to last. But anyway, they didn't last very long. They weren't together that long, and it didn't last very long. But he let go because of the drama that she was creating. And it was quite dangerous drama. And especially, I don't know if I said, like, living in London in these times, you creating that kind of drama, or somebody can end up, you know what I mean, coming for my son in a way that it's not because she's created issues. So, and that was intuitively, I don't get involved otherwise like that. I just knew that this didn't feel right.
Yeah. So I think
when I said it,
I think what happens is sometimes there's just certain things, especially with people you love and care for. You're like, I just need to share this feeling, this thought, this impression that's coming in. But what I have learned from me is if you're open to hearing it, I'm gonna share it. And what you do with it is up to you. I don't expect you to listen to it. I don't expect it to, mean something to you, but
Resonate.
I have to share it because I have 3s and 5s in my soul contract, and I have to share the thing that's in my mind. So it has to come out with zero expectation. But then, Kylie, then I think to myself, when we say things to other people, when we share something that's come in and we're like, I have this feeling, this gut feeling, this intuition, whatever, whether they listen to it or not, it lives somewhere in the energy around them, maybe in their head or the back of their mind, whatever. But so then does that actually create a separate timeline or reality where they didn't have that imprint of that information, and then where they did? Because in my mind, I've really thought about this lately, and I think when someone gives you some kind of information, whether you're consciously doing anything with it or not, it impacts how you move forward. That it lives there and it can shift decisions and outcomes and all that stuff. Anybody else? Do you guys understand what I'm saying?
I hear,
I do. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think for sure, definitely.
Things can shift you onto different timelines.
Yeah.
100%.
It's like, planting the seed.
Yeah, it is. But that's what I was speaking about. Sorry, I'm just jumping in, but that's what I was speaking about, whereby with readings, there are many different
timelines.
Timelines, 100% path that will open up. And we as the sort of, as the readers, we will, for me, what happens is that the most probable timeline for you right now, it lights up.
Yeah.
And that's where we go. But that can change at any moment in time. It can change at any moment. That's why I spoke about, you could come out, say like if you came physically for a reading and I said, you go left down to the road, whatever it is, just where you're going to meet. If you suddenly got afraid, I'm not ready to meet him, I'm not dressed right, or I'm not, you know what I mean? Or I didn't, you know what I mean? Or my hair's not right, not got on my favorite underwear. You come out and turn right.
I've escalated quickly.
You have your free will. You have free will.
And so, so you can always, you're always in the process of changing things. Do you know what I mean?
So
but I'll tell you, go on. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, what we were speaking about before about whether you tell someone or not. I very much, like Amanda, will use, when people who have sessions with me, they're aware, they're coming to me
or information,
right? 100%, totally. But what you do need to be careful, because I get information all of the time. Not that it's not like I'm deliberately doing it, but it's just so much a part of me that it's what happens. So, if I'm speaking to someone that I know well and they're saying things, it's like Amanda said, it's highlighted, like their words get highlighted to me. And then I start it's almost like I can hear the words in the gaps or something, it's like I get this whole other picture. And so this is where your discernment really comes in, because you've got to be able to read the room, but it's like the energetic room, right? So often if I if I feel like they'll be open and receptive based on my experience, then I might say something. But most of the time, it'll be me asking questions that'll help them get there themselves. And there's a
Very
really big
skillful.
power in asking the right questions, right?
Yeah.
But that's always with the highest of intentions. And it's always whatever is for their highest good. And there are many times that it'll be like, I know that they're just not there, you know. So it's a very sort of nuanced area that I think you've really got to use your discernment
Yeah.
for.
See, that's really interesting you said that, because for me, if it's outside of my work, friends or family, the only other, well, I do not get messages. I do not tap in. I don't want it. I'm off the clock.
Yeah, but sometimes doesn't
I'm
information
sorry.
just come in?
I just
You
don't
know
think I've
what?
ever
I
asked for
think
information and it just
I've-
comes.
Well, I think maybe I've trained myself in such a way that I'm off the clock. And the only way that information will come in is if a friend or family has to ask me a question. So say like I was out with my best buddy the other day, and she has to ask me, and then I have to think, let me have, oh, whoa. Because she'll say, she goes, well, that happened, and what do you think of that, Mans? And like, what do you think that was about? I have no idea. Or she'll send me a picture of somebody and show me, what do you think about this person? Fudge knows, I said, because what am I supposed to do with that? I don't want to do this. That's how I'll be.
I need to boundary my senses here. Like, this is, I love this because it sounds far less exhausting, let's be honest.
Oh,
like, I really do feel like all of
it
the
is.
information all of the time can be quite tiring.
It is.
Yeah.
Or then when you know sort of like people that are just stepping into sort of like their sort of like spiritual ability of being psychic, and they're on it all the time. And so they are giving you information that you don't want or don't need.
Yeah.
Because they don't yet have that discernment. They are switched on all the time. I had to say to one beautiful friend, I said, you will drain yourself to death. If every time you go out, you're in people's spaces, or even if it's a friend, and you feel the need to have to tell them what you've picked up spiritually, it's not your business. It's not your business. And nobody's asked you for that information. And I don't care how well you think you are meaning, it's not good. It's just not good. Do you know what I mean? But I love what Lauren said, that you ask particular questions.
Yes, thank you, Lauren.
Kind of base where they are. You can base where they are. Years ago, I was on a training one time, and I went to lunch, and there was nowhere else for me to sit but at this particular table. I know now why I sat at the table afterwards, but I sat at the table, and there was these other students there. I hadn't really spoken to them or really meshed with them in the training. And they were speaking and they were talking. And as they were talking, oh my God, all this information started coming in. And I had somebody that was nudging me, tell her this, tell her. And I was like, I'm not telling her anything. It's like, tell her that I want to eat my food. I was like, tell her. And I said, I really am sorry. I said, but do you mind if I just tell you something? I'm psychic, so you're okay with that? And she was like, yes, please. And when I told her, she was like, oh my God. And it was crazy all the information that came out, and then how close we became after that. But do I want to do that? No, I don't. I don't like to be in that place.
What about you, Kylie?
So there was a time, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago, I couldn't get a massage without anyone that was touching me. It was constant downloads, and I'm like, I'm meant to be relaxing now, right? So then I'd end up doing a reading, and they're like, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. And then it dawned on me that you can actually tell your guides,
that's correct,
when I'm on. When I choose not to be, I'm not on. However, if there has been maybe 5 times in my life where I've gone up and been like, hi, excuse me, hi, I'm talking to your grandmother while you're ordering your coffee. I've done that very rarely. But if there is something that needs, so I get, the only time I really get interrupted, and this is a little bit off topic, but it's if like I'm going past a scene where someone has passed and they haven't ascended, I will sit there for 30 seconds and send them to the light. So I will have a conversation with them, explain that they have passed and it's time to go. And that is the only time that I will allow spirit to connect unless it's something urgent. Like, I'm like, if there is something that affects my path, and not even like the kids are a different story, right? That's all just mother intuition, I believe. But do I have access to them? You know, not necessarily, unless I really, really, really ask, right? Because it's not my place. But so it's just about establishing these are the times that I'm available. I even tell them don't come for me in my dreams because I want to sleep. Leave me alone.
No, it's very true, because they will cross the boundaries into your bedroom, into night. I mean, can you imagine what it would be like for a medium who doesn't have those boundaries? You know, they're all up inside their bedroom, they're sat on their bed. All your clients that you've got coming in the next day, well, you've got dad, you've got granddad, you've got everybody hanging around. Do you know what I mean? You go into the bathroom, well, there's granddad in the shower. No.
Thank you. I don't want you in the shower with me.
And we know what happens in the shower.
I know. Magic happens. I don't want you part of my magic. No. Fuck off. I know. I totally agree. There are boundaries to be had everywhere. Everywhere.
I'm hearing that. Thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
What I'm
Amanda's fault. She started it.
But I actually, you know, what you were saying about, you know, those boundaries and them being in your bedroom, I was literally scared of the dark for such a long time.
I still am.
And I'm getting there. But I think when I was little, I really think I was very, very open with my abilities and with spirits. And I think it terrified me, and I shut it down. So in the development of that part and those senses, it's taken quite some time, even though I know I have the natural ability for it, because I at some point was terrified and I shut it down. So yeah, boundaries, people.
And that's an interesting thought too, because there have been quite a lot of parents who've come to me saying my kid's having nightmares at night and they're having visitations and stuff like that. And I've always struggled with like, okay, we'll bring in protection. But I'm like, I don't want to shut down their intuition, their ability.
It's part of their path. Yeah.
Right. But I know that all the mother wants is relief for their kid. So it's like, I don't feel morally obligated. Like, I just don't feel like that's a good option. So I'm in the case of like, just bring in protection, bring in a crystal, give the kid control and power back by saying this fairy dust, and spray some lavender oil or something. So it gives them a sense, so they associate calmness or whatnot. But I'm like, it is not our role to really shut it down. There have been, I think even Lauren may know this.
You helped me
as a child, and I'm like, unless I have the mother's permission to really like shut this down until they've reached a certain age. But then that
was someone I knew. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, it's not, I still think of that to that day, like if that was the right decision to make, but that was a particularly.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow, because tomorrow's when they turn 10.
There you
Wow.
Look at that.
Yeah, I know. It's been on my mind, because she's like, Lauren, whenever this, lifts, you're it. I'm like, what? Like, anyway, I'll figure it out.
So, it's interesting from a parental aspect, definitely. So I just had to share that.
I remember staying at my grandmother's house, and she was quite psychic. And I remember being scared in the room that I slept in. And it must have been to do with spirits. And I remember her saying, when you're in bed, just cross your legs and they will leave you alone. As in, I know that sounds ridiculous, but like as in a symbol for the spirits to be like, no. And so even now I find myself
crossing your legs.
I have many things to say about this.
I know, because
it's
in no way sexual.
No, I know, but
but when you cross your arms or your legs, you're actually energetically blocking yourself from any energy that you may not want in your space. So even like when someone is telling you something, or like when someone who talks and they're just always negative,
Turn silent.
negative, negative, it's
Mm.
just casually just start just
Yeah.
block.
Yeah. You can kind of turn side on a little bit too.
Yes, totally. You look so beautiful.
You know what else does that too? If you're unable to physically do that, is to put a braid in your hair.
Come on.
Yes, if
Really?
you do like get a little strand, I don't want to pull my hair. If you just get a little strand of hair and just do like a little braid, and you don't even have to put a tie in the bottom of it, that energetically sends a sign. I don't want to absorb. I don't want to be in this negative situation, and it seems to block.
Wow.
Oh,
Because
My
not
daughter
all
does
of us
that all
every
the
day's a
walk around
learning
with our
day.
legs
I like-
crossed, okay? Or don't want to. Just saying.
I love
I also
that.
I put my hand
Today.
on my heart sometimes too.
Is it?
That's nice
But I always
too.
have my legs crossed. It's just a comfortable place. I'm not
It is so
blocking.
Yeah.
comfortable.
It's just.
But I think
like,
I think it depends on the intention with it too,
Right.
right? It's like
Yeah.
I like crossing my legs. That's the way I'm most comfortable for sure,
Yeah.
Amanda. I'm with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Well, it's like in the middle of a reading. I've heard clairvoyants and mediums, and they'll go, uncross your arms so you can
Yes.
receive the information that's coming to you. But
Yep.
it's like, even though for me, like you, Amanda, I'm like, well, it's comfortable for me to cross my legs and to sit like this.
Yeah.
They're like, no,
I-
you need to open up and let the information come through.
No, well, I just tell spirit, you know which way the energy is supposed to flow. So just
That's what I'd be saying.
just
too.
absolutely.
see
Go in the top.
the legs are straight. You know?
Okay, listen,
Yeah.
I think we have reached that time for a beautiful, intuitive message from Kylie and her
Oh,
card.
I'm
Oh,
on.
yes.
I'm on.
You're on.
We're all gonna win lottery. Nah, listen, we will.
yes.
But I gotta pull the card.
Yes.
It shows up
We already
differently for
did.
everybody.
We found each
Aw.
other.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
That's
It's
nice.
true.
That's
That's
so
I have
lovely.
everything.
Thank you.
Amen,
Okay.
girlfriend.
Stop.
Come
Okay,
What did
on,
you
first of
get?
all,
community.
I'm doing Healing with the Fairies today by Doreen
Yes.
Virtue. This was before
got
she went to
those.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Yes.
she,
Remember
yeah.
how she went to Jesus? This was this
Yes.
like 20 years old. So
Yeah, I've
Doreen,
got
don't come
those.
after me and send Jesus, okay? I got Making New Friends and Happily Ever After.
Oh,
that's
There we
nice.
go. Hearts all round.
That's
Oh,
perfect.
uncross your legs,
Maybe for
ladies.
everyone.
accepted.
And making new friends.
You know what? I literally just uncrossed my legs.
That's your intuition.
Lisa, that's
See?
my intuition.
That was a very good example.
That's
I
my
love it.
intuition.
That's
Oh, that's beautiful.
beautiful.
There you
Thank
go.
I
you.
love
Thank you. Thank you.
that.
So can I just ask everybody a tip for growing your intuition for all the people out there?
Oh,
Just growing
good
their
one.
intuition. A tip.
Mm.
I'll give a
Oh,
little
you're open-
one.
Okay, sorry. I thought
For-
you were going
yeah.
to share one.
Oh,
Well, she's saying everybody.
no,
I
everyone
thought
share
you were
one.
going to lead it. Okay.
You
Go on,
know
go.
what? I'll share something that I just sort of do with my kids that is like, you know, that it's like a game, but it's, you know, like when you're standing in front of 3 lifts and you press the button, everyone stands in front of the one they think's going to open.
Yes.
Nice.
That's pretty
That's-
cute.
It's just a really fun way
Yeah.
of, you know, of like getting them in that energy without making it a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll give you that one.
I love that. I
Nice.
do that with my daughter and she loves it.
Mhm.
Another one that my girlfriend used to do with her children was when her one son, he was so spiritually connected at a very young age. So when she would drop him off at school, she would say, okay, Xander, I'm going to send you a butterfly today. And when I pick you up, you're going to tell me what color butterfly I sent you.
Oh, good.
And so, yes. And
That's
I remember thinking that, I mean, this was years ago. I had no children. I was like, I need to use that
Mm.
because like you said, Lauren, it's fun for them. They don't really, they just
Yeah.
think they're playing this game, but you're building their intuition. You're building their discernment so they can start to work with that. That's beautiful. I mean, I
Wow.
think for me, when I really first started tapping into my discernment, my intuition, all that consciously, I had this group of friends and we would each put out a question, a yes or no question to the universe.
Mm.
And on Saturday, we would meet up and then we'd go around the circle and we'd say, okay, Lauren, I think the answer to your question is no. And everyone goes around. And then Lauren, you'll say, well, this was my question. Here's the answer. So that's how we would do it. And it'd be fun and like
Yay.
something, but it has to be something that is a clear yes or no. Not like, oh, in 5 years, am I going to whatever? No. Last week, did you have sushi Tuesday night with Rachel? The answer for me would be no, because we live across the world from each other. But but just like a fun little game like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like that.
You know, mine would be something similar, and it's binary like that. But I do know for myself, and I believe for other people, that I can ask myself a question, and if it's a positive answer, I can feel my energy moving forward, or even my body slightly feel more moving forward. And if it's a negative, I can feel myself moving back. And it's discreet and obvious at the same time as well. But again, it's a cute way of just tuning into yourself and that kind of thing. So that would be my thing to add.
Yeah. Awesome.
Nice.
Kylie,
Wow.
Amanda.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Amanda.
No, you go, Kylie.
I was still trying to think of one.
I'm still
To
thinking.
add on to Rachel's thing, I always get this thing like, if it is a fuck yes, then do it. Because if there is any doubt, it's either it's not for you or the timing's off, right?
Yeah.
I always
Okay.
do
Doubt,
that, right?
don't.
Okay.
And then my last one is turn the GPS off and let your intuition drive. I'm always doing that. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. I know the vicinity. I'm going to try it.
Oh,
And I try to get people
Cute.
yeah.
Wow, I like
Because wherever you're
that.
meant to end up is where you're meant to be, right?
get it.
I'm going to go to the plastic surgeon today instead of the dental appointment. Whatever may happen, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end
All
up
right,
at the
Amanda, your turn.
mall because I'm just meant to be there, right?
Going to the bar, sure.
Oh God, I don't have one now.
That's funny. You put all of us on
You
the
asked the
spot.
question.
Yeah.
I did. Oh God, it was going to be so simple but
Are you
nowadays
establishing
we
your
all-
boundaries now?
Yeah.
Are you showing?
No, I was going to say no. Oh my God. You know what? This has been really great.
We're wrapping up
Tune in
now.
next week.
Listen, you're just gonna have to put it in the comments
I
Yeah.
will.
when we blast this out. You're just gonna have to
I
share it. That
will.
yes,
But that was my intuition telling me to ask that
Ask
question
that
because I
question.
knew everybody was.
There you go. So just listen to the whispers.
There you
That's
go.
right.
Yeah.
Send it to
Yeah.
everyone
Yes.
Perfect. Yes. Listen to the whispers.
intuitively.
That is
Lovely.
beautiful. Well, everybody, this concludes our episode. Thank you for joining us today. If you're interested in booking a reading, a healing, a guided meditation session, a Lightbody session, or simply just want to say hello, head on over to yoursoulwisdomshow.com and you can connect with every one of us. We thank you for allowing us to create this beautiful space, and we hope you have a blessed day. Bye.
Oh, lovely. Nice one. Thank you. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.